And we are live.
Hello, everyone. This is Dawn Dorman with DART, and give us a couple minutes. We're going to get started with our YouTube live event, and we look forward to the questions that you're going to have for us as we move closer into rolling out our new network. Monday is our start date. So we're going to let a couple more people join us, and then we'll get started. We'll get started in about one more minute. We did say 12, so we're going to give everyone one more minute, and we'll be at the 12 o'clock noon hour, and we'll get started at that time. So if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat if you're on YouTube as well as on Facebook. We have staff on both channels that will get those questions to us so our panelists can answer them for you. We look forward to seeing those questions. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. It's 12 noon. We want to make sure that we get all of the questions in from you all. And I know you have some wonderful questions. So again, remember to put those questions in the chat, both on YouTube and on Facebook. We have staff monitoring both locations, and they will get us those questions. So my name is Dawn Dorman, and I am in the Government and Community Relations Department at DART. And I have my co-host with me, Ralph. Ralph, you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Don. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ralph Parker. I'm a director of bus operations for the Northwest Division at DART, and I'm so glad to be a part of this panel. Thank you all very much as we talk about this new network redesign, simpler, better, faster, that we'll be starting with on Monday, January 24th. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, Ralph, we're going to have fun with this, aren't we? It's going to be a lovely day, a lovely event. So I at this time want to introduce our wonderful panelists who are going to answer as many questions as possible. And also we have a panelist that will help us with translation. So if we have some Spanish speaking individuals that are joining us, please note that we will be able to translate some of your questions. So Ralph and Carlos, can you introduce yourself?
And actually, I'm Rob Smith, and I'm the...
Sorry, wrong person. Ralph has already introduced himself.
Yeah, we've got Ralph already. But I'm Rob, and I'm the interim VP of Service Planning for DART, and I'm part of a very large team within DART and people outside of DART who have been working for more than 2 years now to put together the changes that you're going to see happen on Monday.
And I am not Ralph either. My name is Carlos Huerta. I'm the DART manager of community relations and education. And like Don said, I'll be helping out. I'll be the Spanish interpreter for today as well. So I'll be helping out with all the questions and answers in Spanish and English. So I'll be helping out in that avenue. So and answer any other questions. And I'll echo Rob's sentiment. It's been a long time coming. We cannot wait till Monday, January 24th. We put a lot of work into this, a lot of hours. And so we're looking forward to Monday for the big launch.
Carlos, can you translate that for us?
Mi nombre es Carlos Huerta y soy el gerente de Relaciones Comunitarias y Educación de DART. Y yo voy a ayudar con interpretar las preguntas y respuestas en español. Si alguien necesita ayuda con el español, aquí lo puedo interpretar, las preguntas y las respuestas.
Thank you, Carlos. So prior to today's live event, we had questions already submitted. So we're going to go ahead and get started with those questions. And once we start receiving your live questions in the chat, we will address those as well. So for right now, we'll go ahead and get started with our first question. And that is, Rob, how are bus routes and bus stops changing?
Basically, we have completely redesigned the entire network. All of the routes have been changed, both in terms of where they go and their schedules. They all have new route numbers. We have new marketing materials, schedules, maps, and bus stops are also seeing major changes. Some of them will no longer be in operation. Some are being added, and some are all are getting new signage that will hopefully be more visible and easier to see for customers.
Y la pregunta en español es, ¿cómo van a cambiar las rutas de autobuses y las paradas también? ¿Cómo van a cambiar en este lunes? Y la respuesta es, cada ruta de autobús en nuestro sistema van a cambiar. Vamos a tener una nueva red completamente para todas las rutas. Todos los números de los autobuses van a cambiar también. El servicio de muchas de las rutas van a cambiar. Y también vamos a reemplazar con el servicio de GoLink también. Las paradas, ahorita tenemos letreros o cubiertas que indican cómo van a cambiar, pero los números de cada ruta va a cambiar completamente, una nueva red completamente para todos.
Before we get to the next question, I do want to share with our audience, as Rob, you talked about how the signs will be more visible. I do want to share that we did some research and study on visual impairments that some of our passengers may have, color blindness. So our new brochures and timetables and route information will be amenable for those who have those type of impairments. So I wanted to share that with everyone so that you'll be ready and be able to use our products accordingly. So Ralph, I think you have some questions that you want to ask.
Absolutely. And the next question is, this is a very tough question, so I want to make sure that everyone's ready on the panel here. The next question we got was, when will this change take place?
We've already said it at the beginning, but the rest of the changes will start on Monday. So everything will change on Monday. And I say the rest of the changes because the new expanded GoLink service, we actually started that on December 6th to give people a chance to try it before the rest of the changes happen on the 24th.
Right, and we got great new vans for GoLink. Just want to mention that as well. The vans are out there and rolling. They look wonderful in their new scheme. Also, just to remind everyone, digitally, we've talked a lot about the maps and everything, and some of those have been on some of the vehicles already. I know our operators here at our division and the other two divisions that we have will have their maps ready to go. Our offices are full of boxes with the new schedules, so we will have those ready to go if you haven't seen them already on Monday. And if you have any questions before then, or you want to start getting ready for your trip and plan everything, please visit dartzoom.org. It has all the information there, all the latest updated info, the route conversions. So if you're planning this on a Sunday and you still see your route that you're currently on, but you're starting to see the new bus stops out there, you will see the conversion table at dartzoom.org.
Yes, thank you for that.
And I do want to say that in Spanish.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I'll try to capture all that.
That was a lot.
into that small question. La pregunta es, ¿cuándo va a cambiar este servicio? Y la respuesta es, el 24 de enero, este lunes, vamos a tener el lanzamiento para toda la nueva red. Pero ya comenzamos el 6 de diciembre con el servicio de GoLink. Hace 6 semanas comenzamos esas nuevas zonas en el servicio de GoLink. Y como dijo Ralph también, vamos a tener nuevos mapas, todas las rutas que tenemos el lunes, vamos a tener nuevos mapas, nuevos horarios para todos, para mirar y educarse para indicar los nuevos tiempos en las rutas. Pero también los vehículos nuevos que tenemos para el servicio de GoLink, con las vanes nuevas, van a mirar comenzando el lunes. Pero mucho más servicio, mucho más información en dartzoom.org. Vamos a tener, si tienen más preguntas o más información de las rutas de hoy y de lo que vamos a comenzar el lunes, el 24 de enero.
Okay, thank you. And so Nick has submitted a question in our live feed. Or he's made a statement. He said he's excuse me he's expressed his concern about the new system, and what can we say to people who are upset with the changes? So Rob, do you want to take that question?
Well, one of the things that we would very much help us as people call in or submit feedback is to talk a little bit about why people are upset so that we can help address it. This, first of all, this was a major change, and we realize that. And it is a very different way of providing bus service than we've traditionally done. And that's going to be a challenge for people. We have tried to make the service more frequent, and most cases it's much more frequent. We are running more hours. All of the local routes will run 7 days a week, and we could not have done that by just keeping every route exactly as it was. And so we looked very carefully at ridership, at how people were using the system, and have developed this new network to be able to move forward. And we're looking to do additional changes that I'm sure we'll talk about during the course of this live session today.
Because in fact, after Carlos answers that question or translates that question, I'm going to ask you another question that's relevant to Nick's thoughts.
Okay. Y la pregunta es, comenzando el lunes, el 24 de enero, tenemos muchos cambios para nuestros pasajeros. ¿Cómo podemos indicar que tenemos problemas con estos cambios? Y la respuesta es, tenemos mucho tiempo para estudiar estos cambios de servicio el 24 de enero, pero queremos que tener más frecuencia en el sistema, más horas de servicio, mejor servicio. Para tener eso, tenemos que cambiar algunas cosas del servicio de las rutas. Si cambiamos una ruta aquí, nos van a afectar en otros lugares también. Pero les decimos muchos a todos que tengan mucha paciencia. Esta es la primera fase de los cambios. Van a tener más cambios en el futuro. Hay más oportunidad para ustedes, para decirnos a nosotros y para tener más educación sobre estos cambios, pero van a ser más cambios en el futuro también.
So again, based off of Nick's comment, the next question is, how often does DART make service changes?
We normally make service changes 3 times a year, in January, the end of May or the beginning of June, and in September. A lot of those changes are really small. This change is really, really big. We don't expect big changes the rest of this year, but we do expect to be making some adjustments based on feedback, based on what we see happening on the street. For example, a schedule may be slightly adjusted. We've already made some changes to GoLink zones even before the zone started, and we've already adjusted one route, Route 15, based on feedback that we got at the last minute. And there will likely be more of that at those specific times during the course of the upcoming year.
So what it sounds like is very important to hear from our customers and our riders, and to get some of your comments in directly to Rob's team. You can send your information to serviceplanning@dart.org. And one of our planners will be more than happy to contact you and to understand your thoughts and concerns about the system. So if we need to make tweaks throughout the year, as Rob mentioned, then we can do so accordingly, or at least look into the concerns that are being shared. And so, Carlos, I know that's a mouthful.
It's okay. It's okay. La pregunta de Nick, nuestro pasajero Nick, es ¿cuántas veces por año, cuántas veces normalmente cambiamos el servicio en DART? Y la respuesta es casi como 2 o 3 veces por año tenemos cambios de servicio en DART. Muchos de esos servicios, los cambios van a ser menores. Este servicio de cambio el 24 de enero es el cambio más grande que hemos tenido en la historia de DART. So, vamos a cambiar todas las rutas, como dijimos antes, pero tenemos oportunidad para otros cambios en el futuro, para ajustar o cambiar poquito las rutas. Vamos a aprender poquito más después de los cambios de este lunes y entre los próximos meses, cómo podemos cambiar para mejorar las rutas que comenzamos con esta nueva red. Y también, si tienen preguntas o más información, o si los quieren comentarios para nosotros, mándenlos a serviceplanning@dart.org para comunicarse con nosotros para la nueva red, las nuevas rutas, los horarios. Si miran que algo está un poquito diferente que puede mejorar la ruta, déjenos un mensaje con esa comunicación.
And thanks, Carlos. And Rob, just from a historical standpoint, when we talk about really big service changes, I think the last one that was really on this level was probably the Green Line. When the Green Line North opened, and then we did this big campaign about the Green Line changes everything. I think that was the last time we did something of this scale, and I think this is actually even bigger than that was.
This is much bigger. That was in December of 2010, by the way. But this is easily the largest change that DART has done in its history.
Absolutely. And we can talk about history all day because, transit nerds. But I got a question here from Brian about GoLink. The question is, my wife and I are both in power chairs. Can we both ride GoLink buses together?
I believe the answer to that question is yes. The key, though, is make sure that when you book the trip that you let them know, because we provide GoLink using different types of vehicles. In some cases, we use large vehicles that can accommodate wheelchairs. In other cases, we use taxis. And in some cases, you also have the choice of using Uber. And so you might be in a car, you might be in a larger van that is wheelchair equipped. And if there are special needs, it's important to note them either in the app or when you call in by telephone to book your trip.
Y la pregunta del pasajero es concerning el servicio de GoLink. La esposa y el esposo quieren usar el servicio juntos. ¿Pueden hacer eso? Y la respuesta es sí, pero tienen que reservar antes por llamar por teléfono o con el GoPass app. Y tienen indicar para cuando reserven para el viaje que las dos personas necesitan silla de ruedas para ese vehículo, porque algunos vehículos están un poquito más grandes y algunos son un poquito más mejor, los coches más bajos no tienen para silla de ruedas. Entonces tienen que reservar e indicar que necesitan silla de ruedas.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you. And just to recap for GoLink, by all means, make sure you download our DART GoPass app. It is a fantastic app. You can book your trips, pay for your fare, get trip planning information, updated where's my bus, where's my train information. If you do need to call, the phone number is 214-515-7272, and that is for our GoLink services.
Ralph, that's not your phone number. I thought
that's not my personal number. No,
it might as well be.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to say I could do all of that. You're not going to get it may be something showing up, but it probably may be a bicycle, maybe a go-kart. I don't know, but it won't be our lovely vans that I know they've taken a lot of pride in keeping and putting together. So if I could just pivot real quick back to the frequency questions and the timing of that, I got a question here about a bus route is going from every 30 minutes to every 45 minutes. Are we to understand that correctly? And Rob, if you could explain how the frequency of the bus service will work after the 24th.
Yeah. And actually, there won't be any buses running every 45 minutes. So let's talk about what we're doing, because in a lot of cases, we're doing a lot better than that. And I'm actually going to start by mentioning that the first clue to frequency is the route number, because we have changed the route numbers to tell you how frequent the bus is operating. The lower the route number, the more frequent the service. So if it's a single digit route number, route 3, route 9 are two examples, it'll run every 15 minutes most of the day, even on weekends, and then 30 minutes later in the evening or in the morning on weekends. The routes that are double digit numbers from 10 up to 99 will run every 15 minutes in the peak, 20 minutes during the midday, and never less than every 30 minutes. And basically the frequencies of those routes will match what we do on the rail. And I'm going to stop to give Carlos a chance to translate that, and then I'll finish the rest of the answer.
Sure. Sure. La pregunta es, en mis paradas, en mi ruta, la frecuencia va a cambiar de 30 minutos a 45 minutos. ¿Eso es verdad? ¿O pueden explicar cómo van a cambiar la frecuencia con el 24 de enero, con la nueva red? Y la respuesta es, la frecuencia va a mejorar. Las rutas van a mejorar de frecuencia, mucho más frecuencia con la nueva red. También van a cambiar todos los números de las rutas, y los números indican también la frecuencia. So, por ejemplo, las rutas que tienen solamente un dígito, un número de 2 o número 3 o 9, indican esas rutas que la frecuencia va a ser cada 15 minutos todo el día, entre fin de semana también. Si la ruta del bus es de 10 hasta 19, esas indican que la frecuencia va a ser cada 15 a 20 minutos entre el día y el fin de semana. So, casi todas las rutas de la frecuencia central que dijimos de 22 rutas van a mejorar para cada 15, cada 20 minutos en cada parada con la frecuencia. So, eso es parte de la nueva red. La frecuencia va a mejorar para todas las rutas.
And the routes that we just talked about that have numbers of 99 or less run from 4 a.m. until 1 a.m. 7 days a week.
Okay.
If you see a route that has a number in the 100s, that route runs every 15 minutes during peak hours and every 30 minutes at all other times. And if you see a route that is numbered in the 200s, it runs every 30 minutes in the peak and either every 40 or 60 minutes at all other times. And all of the routes in the 100s and the 200s run from 5 a.m. to midnight at least, some cases a little more, 7 days a week.
So, si las rutas, como dijimos, las rutas indican también la frecuencia. So, las rutas dicen el 99, el número 99 o menor o menos del número de la ruta, van a comenzar a las 4 de la mañana de comenzar del servicio, y también de cada 15, 20 minutos y a 30 minutos también. Si los números indican de 100 de los números de 100 hasta 199, esas rutas tienen frecuencia cada 15 minutos en hora pico y cada 30 minutos durante el resto del día. Y si tienen las rutas de números 200, por ejemplo, es cada 30 minutos en hora de pico y cada 45 minutos en otros tiempos que sin hora de pico. Y todas las rutas tienen servicio del fin de semana también. Y esas rutas también comienzan a las 5 de la mañana, comenzando del servicio.
Thank you for that, Carlos. I'm sorry, go ahead, Rob.
And I just wanted to mention, to close the loop, there are routes with numbers that are 300 and higher. Those are express routes. Those are shuttles. Those schedules vary, and it depends on the route and the service and the ridership. And you can find that information out from the website or from the schedules.
Okay. Y las rutas de 300 o mejor, algunas rutas sí tienen de números de 300. Esas son que se llaman de servicio de expreso de las rutas. So, ese es diferente tiempo. Es más de indicar y mirar los horarios que tenemos en letreros, en las divisiones y mirar los tiempos. Es un poquito diferente en esos tiempos.
Thank you for that. And we do have a live question, and I'm not sure, Cameron, if your question, if the response was made for you, but we'll go ahead and share it. And she says, thank you. Excuse me, I like the new routes, the new changes, and I want to thank you for that. I'm glad to hear that you do like the new changes. But the question is, do you have plans on increasing frequency to nightlife areas such as the Lower Greenville, the Knox Henderson, etc.?
Well, the Lower Greenville route area, actually, one of our 15-minute most of the day and 30-minute late at night routes is running on Matilda, which is a block away. Okay. And so we have one of our most frequent routes running within walking distance of Lower Greenville. We've actually improved our Knox Henderson service a little bit, although it's not one of the frequent routes right now. But that brings up a really good point, and that is what we're doing on Monday is a start. And
Mhm.
our next step is we're going to work over this upcoming year, 2022, to develop what we're calling a 5-year plan. And that may include other routes or services. It may include additional frequency improvements. It's something that we're going to be talking about. We basically did everything that we could do for Monday within the budget that we had, but we're going to be talking about going beyond that. And there will be an opportunity for public involvement in the discussion as we develop that plan later this year.
Y la pregunta en español, ¿vamos a tener más frecuencia en las rutas cerca de lugares de entretenimiento o para lugares donde andan muchas personas en la noche, como en Lower Greenville? Y la respuesta es sí, vamos a tener servicio, mejor servicio en las calles de Matilda y en lugares de Knox Henderson, cerca de Lower Greenville, en el lugar de Lower Greenville, en las calles así, para tener más frecuencia entre noche también, en cada 15 minutos, cada 30 minutos en la noche. En esos lugares. Pero también otra vez, esta es la primera parte de este servicio, de los cambios, es la primera parte para un plan de 5 años que vamos a comenzar. Ese es el lanzamiento para esta parte nomás del 24 de enero, pero tenemos muchos más planes para cambiar, mejorar el servicio de autobuses entre los próximos 5 años.
Thank you for that. And I do want to mention, Rob shared that we're going to have a community outreach portion, and that's where Carlos and I come in. And so if you have a neighborhood association that you would like for us to talk to, please give us that information in the chat, and Carlos and I will follow up with you, and we will love to come out to your community and speak to you about the changes and any issues or concerns that you have that we can address. But you can also share some information if you don't want to wait for a meeting. Again, you can contact our planners at serviceplanning at dart.org. So I have another question, Carlos. I didn't know if you want to translate that because Cameron has a second part to her question I wanted to share.
Yeah, real quick, I'll just share that. En español, vamos a tener muchas juntas comunitarias en estos próximos meses para hablar de este tópico de la nueva red. So, si tienen o quieren más información para tener una junta en sus vecindarios, en sus juntas en el vecindario, mándenos un mensaje en el chat o también en serviceplanning@dart.org.
And I think I've been calling Cameron a she, and I think it might be a he. So I apologize because I'm seeing his in the chat. So I
Okay.
apologize for that. But the second part of that question is, will we be adding any benches and bus shelters or other amenities at our stops?
And the answer to that is yes. There are some bus shelters and benches that we need to move to different locations as a part of all of the changes to bus stops. And we'll be doing that over the course of the next year. But the board, our board of directors, which governs DART, recently adopted changes to our standards for service that include a lot of different things, but they include the standards for where we do benches and shelters. And the result of that change is that we will be placing more benches and shelters in different parts of the community. It's not something that you'll see immediately, but we've got a group of staff people working to get that done. And we're about to go to get a new contractor to help us make that happen.
And to follow up on that question, so what happens on Monday, the benches and the shelters that we have outside right now? What's going to happen Monday? Because we know we can't get those changed overnight. So what happens?
Temporarily, they're going to stay where they are. And over a period of 2 or 3 months after the change, our crews will go in and remove those benches and shelters and put them in a place where we can then go and later put them down at new locations. I would note that that doesn't just involve magically putting a shelter or a bench at a new location. We've got to make sure that we've got room for it. We've got to put down and pour concrete pads. And there's some work that goes along with that, which is why it will take a year or so to get all of those moves done.
Wonderful, Carlos. You
Okay,
want to transfer?
sure. Con esta nueva red en los cambios, la pregunta es, ¿qué va a pasar en las banquetas, en las casitas de las paradas? ¿Qué va a ocurrir con ¿Vamos a tener más o lo mismo? Y la respuesta es sí. En el próximo año vamos a mirar más banquetas y casitas en las paradas de autobuses. En el próximo año también tenemos con la mesa directiva de DART más decisiones y un contrato nuevo, ojalá para tener diferentes sistemas para indicar dónde van a estar esas banquetas y casitas de paradas. Y la otra pregunta es, ¿qué van a pasar en las casitas y las paradas y las banquetas que tenemos ahorita? Nada va a cambiar ahorita en el 24 de enero, pero en los próximos 2 meses o 3 meses vamos a mirar dónde podemos cambiar las banquetas y las paradas de las casitas de paradas para poner en lugares donde deben estar, y también con la mesa directiva de DART con el nuevo sistema que vamos a tener donde ponerlos. También en este año, próximo año, vamos a tener más paradas que tengan banquetas y casitas de paradas.
Thank you for that, Carlos. So our next question, we have been seeing bags. I know we have 10,000 bus stops, and every bus stop throughout our service area has a bag on it. And some of those bags say my bus stop. Well, I think all of them says my bus stops are being going out of service, but on the other side of some of those bus stops, it tells you what's going to be new at this bus location. But in some cases, we are eliminating bus stops. Why are we doing that?
Well, we have gone there are several different things that are happening. We have right now 10,000 bus stops. About 70% of those bus stops will still be there after these changes, but about 3,000 of them, nearly 3,000 of them, are actually being discontinued. In some cases, the service is being moved to a different location, but it'll still be fixed route service. In other cases, the service is being replaced by new GoLink zones. And so the sign will tell you what is happening to that route. For those 30% or so of the stops that are being discontinued, it will tell you what will happen at that location, that the stop will be discontinued or that GoLink service will be replacing it in that area. But for most of the stops, those bags will tell you what routes or route numbers will be serving that location starting on Monday. And actually, over these upcoming weekend, those 7,000 bags on those stops will be removed, and you will see new bus stop signs at all of those locations that show the new routes that are serving. And we're going to have people all over the Metroplex this weekend removing those bags for a lot of those stops.
So Carlos, you want to translate?
Yeah, la pregunta es, hemos mirado muchas cubiertas arriba de las paradas, de los postes, los últimos 2 o 3 meses. ¿Eso indica que vamos a eliminar esa parada? Y la respuesta es, no es indicación que van a eliminar la parada con esas cubiertas. Tienen que mirar y leer los letreros arriba, los mensajes de las cubiertas, enfrente y de atrás también, para indicar cómo van a ser los cambios. Algunos van a ser cambios de ruta, que indica el nuevo número que va a ser, y algunos sí, vamos a eliminar algunas rutas. Tenemos ahorita 10,000 paradas en el sistema de autobuses. Vamos a cambiar o eliminar más de 30% o 3,000 paradas en este sistema que tenemos, como vamos a comenzar el 24 de enero. Algunas cubiertas de mensajes pueden indicar que se van a cambiar del servicio de GoLink o van a reemplazar esa ruta con servicio de GoLink. Y algunas van a ser solamente el nuevo número de la ruta. Y lo que va a pasar este fin de semana, en los próximos 2 días, es vamos en esas 7,000 paradas que no se van a eliminar o no van a cambiar. Van a quitar las cubiertas y van a tener un nuevo letrero en la parada para indicar qué es la nueva ruta y la nueva información.
Thank you for that. And Ralph, I feel like I've been monopolizing the time, so I'm going to let you ask him some questions.
Yeah, where's Ralph?
He's right there.
And one of the cool things I'm doing is while all these questions are coming in, I'm looking at some of the maps. I love maps. I know we've talked a lot about that. If you go to our website, dartzoom.org, you'll be able to see a lot of the new maps electronically that we have up there. I know there was a question about the Lower Greenville and Knox Henderson area. For the Lower Greenville, that's actually Route 3, one of the routes that Rob mentioned. That's going to be a block over from Greenville, running on Matilda, which is great, especially when we're talking about frequency and on-time service. Because with all the great nightlife that's right there on Greenville Avenue, getting through there in a 40-foot bus can be a little bit of a challenge. So for safety and moving everything, you'll see that route on Matilda, which really is a block over. It is not a far walk at all. Anyone can make it. But just to pivot to GoLink real quick, I have two great questions, one from John and then one from Terry. Does GoLink go to DeSoto?
GoLink does not go to DeSoto because DeSoto is not in the DART service area. However, I would note that Star Transit has been working with DeSoto to provide transit service in DeSoto. And we also have a DART program that we're doing with Star Transit in the larger inland port area, which includes a part of DeSoto, that allows people to get from DART buses or DART trains to places within the inland port area. It's called the Inland Port Connect GoLink, and you can find out about it at our website.
La pregunta es, ¿vamos a tener servicio de GoLink en la ciudad de DeSoto? Y la respuesta es por ahorita no, porque DeSoto no es parte del sistema de DART, del área del servicio, pero en el futuro, en otros lugares tenemos el servicio de Star Transit. Tenemos unos compañeros ahí que pueden ayudar para personas en DeSoto para llevarlos a estaciones de DART. Y también tenemos el Inland Port expansión para ese servicio de GoLink, donde pueden usar servicios de ese servicio para llevar personas adentro y cerca de DeSoto con ese servicio también.
Awesome. And thank you, Carlos and Rob. And just a follow-up question. I know we've talked a lot about the frequencies with the shuttles and the fixed route part of this. But for GoLink, the question from Terry is what are some of the expected wait times for GoLink?
Good question.
Good question. Our goal with GoLink is that when you schedule a trip using the GoPass app, we want to be able to pick you up within 15 minutes. And in a lot of cases, it is often less than that, sometimes between 5 and 10 minutes. If you book an Uber trip, we generally see the same kinds of time frames. So 15 minutes is generally our goal.
Y la pregunta es, con el servicio de GoLink, ¿qué tiempo podemos esperar? ¿Qué tiempo queremos esperar para este servicio, para recogernos, si somos pasajeros? Y la respuesta es, queremos que el servicio de GoLink, con ese vehículo, después de reservar y reservar ese viaje, que tengan solamente 15 minutos de tiempo de esperar para ese servicio de GoLink. Casi igual como servicios de Uber o de Lyft, tenemos casi el mismo tiempo para el tiempo de esperar después de reservar y para que venga el vehículo para recogerlos enfrente de su locación.
Thank you. So I know in this process, one of the things that we are trying best to do was to make the system faster. So to make it faster, we had to eliminate some bus stops. So when you were doing your formula to determine what bus stops were going to be eliminated, how far of a walk will a person, what's the maximum amount of walking distance will a person have now?
Yeah, generally in the areas that we're providing service. And I say that because there are areas that are so sparsely populated or things are so undeveloped that we don't have enough riders to support service. So we don't serve everywhere within the 13 cities that make up DART. But for the areas that we do serve, we're generally trying to get routes within a half mile, and in many cases, in fact, a lot of cases, a quarter mile of where people are.
Great.
Y la pregunta es, con este nuevo sistema, nueva red que vamos a tener, estudiamos mucho cómo vamos a cambiar las rutas, tenemos que eliminar algunas rutas, pero para tener más frecuencia. Pero para caminar a la parada, ¿qué es lo máximo de distancia que queremos que una persona camine para ser un pasajero de nuestro sistema? Y la respuesta es, por ahorita estudiamos los lugares donde hay residentes, donde tienen residentes para caminar cerca de una parada y queremos lo máximo que es una mitad de milla y muchas veces es nomás un cuarto de milla para caminar de distancia para la parada más cerca de un residente.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carlos. And we have about 15 minutes left on this live YouTube stream here. So make sure you get all your questions in on YouTube, Facebook. We are watching that, and we have people that can feed us those questions. So we talked a lot about the bus stops, and I'll go ahead and kind of answer this one because we talked about a little bit about what to do if the bus stop, my bus stop, is eliminated. Normally, and usually in some spaces, we have adjacent service nearby, or it's in a GoLink zone. So again, please go to dartzoom.org. You can do a trip plan for your service, where you used to be, what it's going to look like come Monday. So by all means, a lot of that information is there. So we'll go ahead and pivot to the next question, Don, which I believe is yours.
Okay, and I think Carlos will need to
just real quick.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's a good answer, Ralph. But let me go ahead and translate that real quick. El lunes, este 24 de enero, ¿qué voy a hacer si mi parada está eliminada? No va a estar ahí donde estaba antes, como ahorita. ¿Qué puedo hacer? Y la respuesta es, busquen a la parada cerca, visiten a dartzoom.org para información donde está la nueva ruta que está cerca. Muchas veces la ruta va a estar una cuadra, 2 cuadras cerca de la parada que existaba antes, pero también muchos van a reemplazar con servicio de GoLink también, pero es también tomar el tiempo para aprender la nueva ruta que está cerca de donde estaba antes la parada y buscar dónde está la nueva ruta. Busquen en dartzoom.org.
Thank you. So we have a live question from, and I don't want to butcher up your name. So I'm not going to say your name, but you will definitely know this is your question. So the current system had several east-west routes that connected the green line to the red line and to the blue line. Are there still any routes that connect the rail lines to each other?
Absolutely. And in fact, we've added a few. And I'll mention one as a good example of that. And I'm pulling up my map so I can actually visualize it as I'm talking. And that's Route 232. And that runs east-west on Frankfurt and Renner. It starts in Carrollton at the Green Line. It goes across on Frankfurt to where Frankfurt ends. It ends up on Renner Road, and it goes over to the Red Line and the Orange Line at our City Line Bush Turnpike station. There are many other examples of that, but we've added some like that new Route 232. We did not have a route that ran anything like that previously.
Sí, y la pregunta, con este nuevo sistema, la nueva red, antes teníamos muchas rutas de este a oeste entre la ciudad y entre las ciudades del sistema. ¿Vamos a tener esas mismas rutas o qué van a pasar con las rutas que conectan con las estaciones de tren ligero, la línea roja, la línea verde y la azul? ¿Vamos a tener conexiones? Y la respuesta es sí. vamos a tener más conexiones con estaciones. Por ejemplo, la ruta 232 en Carrollton, en Frankfurt, van a conectar con esa línea verde, con esa ruta, van a hacer toda la Renner para conectar con la línea roja. Así tenemos muchas más rutas como ese ejemplo de 232, pero sí tenemos más conexiones con estaciones de trenes.
Thank you for that. And again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat because we're getting ready to wrap this up soon, and we want to make sure that we're addressing as many questions as possible. But Rob, there is a question regarding services in South and West Dallas. And I know we have GoLink services at both locations, but what are we doing or what have we done to make service equitable in both those communities?
In the southern sector, West Dallas, Oak Cliff, those areas, there are a lot of frequency improvements. A lot of frequent service routes have been added. Hours have been added in some cases, and that's on a number of corridors: Jefferson, Westmoreland, Polk, Marsalis, the Bonneview corridor, and Singleton in West Dallas. All are getting frequent service as examples. There's more of an east-west emphasis to some of those routes. For example, we did not have a route that went directly across Camp Wisdom, east and west. It meandered all over the place. And so now we have a route that goes straight from Redbird Mall across to the Blue Line. And we've added new GoLink zones in some of the lower ridership areas, like the western part of West Dallas, Mountain Creek, and some other locations in that area.
Y la pregunta es, en el servicio que vamos a tener, ¿cómo vamos a tener más servicio o más, poner más atención en lugares del sur y al oeste de Dallas? Y la respuesta es sí, sí vamos a tener más frecuencia en muchas de las calles en el oeste de Dallas y en el sur de Dallas, como en lugares de West Dallas, Oak Cliff y más en el sur también, más frecuencia y más horas de servicio. Pero también tenemos lugares donde no teníamos servicio antes, como en las calles de Camp Wisdom. Vamos a conectar donde está la Redbird Mall, en toda la Camp Wisdom, a toda la calle, más rutas directas. No tenemos otros lugares para ir en la Camp Wisdom, va directamente toda la Camp Wisdom. También tenemos más servicio de GoLink en esos lugares del oeste y en el sur de Dallas, incluido como de Mountain Creek en el oeste de Dallas, y también, como hablamos antes, del Inland Port, más expansión en el sur también con servicio de GoLink. So tenemos más frecuencia, más rutas directas y más servicio de GoLink.
And Ralph, before we go to you, I want to piggyback off of what Rob was saying in terms of us making this more efficient. And I'm going to pick on one of my favorite communities, and that's the Jabe community. And they had service that was 5 days a week, basically 2 times a day, only during service, what we consider peak hours, and that's rush hours in most of our constituents' mind. In that particular community, we introduced GoLink. So now, not only do they have it 7 days a week, they have it all day. So this new system is benefiting so many people across the service area, especially those that are in GoLink zones. So if you haven't tried the GoLink, I encourage you to try it because you're going to love it. You're going to love it. And Ralph, I think you have some questions.
I do, and I use GoLink as well down in my area. So it's a great system. It's a great service. I've been using it for years and years and years, back even when we called it on call back then. So it's a great.
A long time ago.
That was a while ago.
You're telling your age.
We're not going to do any historical dating here, but yes, I am familiar with the names before the current ones. But I got another question from Brian. He wants to know, can we still get someone to help us with trip planning?
It's a great answer that question. We're going to be out there. We're going to be out there on Monday.
Right.
Staff is going to be out there, and we're going to be there to help you trip plan. So don't worry about getting lost, and you know we're going to be there, and we're going to try our hardest to get you there on time. So you might want to start your trip a little early, So you can meet us out on the platforms and we can help you figure out where you need to go. But also I'll encourage you to go to dartzoom.org and do a trip plan there. So you can put in what your current destination is, and you can switch over, toggle it to new, and it'll tell you what your trip will look like on Monday.
Right.
So I highly encourage you to go and play around with our dartzoom.org trip planning tool.
Absolutely.
Or call Dart customer service.
Yes.
You can call, and we're extending the hours for customer service for the first 3 weeks. We'll start at 4 a.m. and run until 2 a.m. We don't usually provide live people during the evening, but we will have live people that will be able to help as well.
And I'm gonna let you translate, Carlos, because I want to add something else to it.
Sure. Y la pregunta es, ¿todavía van a dar ayuda para si tenemos que planear de viaje para nuestros pasajeros? Y sí, claro que sí. Vamos a estar ahí el lunes, el 24 de enero. Bastantes trabajadores de DART van a ayudar. Vamos a tener los iPads con nosotros en las tabletas para ayudar con los planes de viajes para ustedes, pero también pueden llamar el teléfono del servicio de DART que tenemos. Va a comenzar a las 4 de la mañana para todos los clientes, hasta mucho más mejor servicio si quieren planear de sus viajes, y también en dartzoom.org pueden también el nuevo sistema de planear sus viajes. So, hay muchos métodos para planear sus viajes y siempre vamos a servir para ayudarnos.
Thank you. And what I wanted to add is that on the first week of service, it's going to be free across the board, including our paratransit service. It's going to be free. So we want you to, and if you haven't tried GoLink, come out and try it because it's going to be free. And then the 2 weeks after that, the 31st of January through the 14th of February, if you use one of our contactless payments, that would be the app, the tap card or credit card, or Apple Pay. If you use one of those services, then your rides will be 50% off, and that's starting January 31st through February 14th. So I encourage you to take advantage of both of those opportunities to use our service. So Ralph, I know you wanted to piggyback. I hope I didn't steal your thunder.
Let me plug that as well. Sorry, Ralph. Let me plug that real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so el 24 de enero vamos a comenzar la nueva red, pero también todo va a ser gratis en el sistema de DART. So, cada tren, cada voz, cada vehículo para tránsito, cada servicio de GoLink por una semana, por 7 días, hasta el 24 de enero, hasta el 30 de enero, va a ser todo gratis. So, no tiene que pagar ningún boleto para esos 7 días, pero después, desde el 31 de enero hasta el 14 de febrero, si usan métodos de sin contacto, como el GoPass app, o el tap card, pueden usar el sistema a mitad de precios regulares. Si ya tienen reducido la tarifa, los boletos no califican, pero si son boletos regulares, les van a quitar 50%, un descuento de 50% por 2 semanas después.
And thank you, Carlos. And I want to give everyone 2 numbers here. We're getting ready to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but for customer service during those extended times, if you need to call, that phone number is 214-979-1111. And I'll say it again, the number for customer service, 214-979-1111. And like Rob said, they will be open for the first 3 weeks of service from 4 a.m. to 2 a.m. Operators will be standing by. That number again, 214-979-1111. I want to give the GoLink number again real quick if you need to call for your service as well. That number is 214-515-7272. And Carlos, I'll let you translate that.
Sure. Comenzando el 24 de enero, también tenemos el cliente de servicio del número, va a ser 214-979-1111, desde las 4 de la mañana hasta las 2 de la noche en la mañanita, para tener más oportunidades. Si tienen más preguntas, por favor usen ese teléfono, pero también para el servicio de GoLink, también tenemos el número para llamar para más información y para reservar sus viajes, es 214-515-7272.
Thank you for that.
And real quick, just to add to the street teams, Don talked about the street teams that are going to be out there. They're going to be on the platforms. They're going to be giving out a lot of information if you need it. They are there to help. We also have a station concierge group that will be out there as well. And they're out there already. So they will be in the service area at particular transit centers throughout our 700 square miles. They will be there to assist you 7 days a week at some locations. But they won't be going away after this first week, this first couple of weeks of the push of the new network redesign. They will be out there for you every day of the week, rain, sleet, snow, hopefully not a lot of snow, but
no snow.
Sunshine,
no
yeah.
snow.
Maybe rain on occasion.
No rain.
On occasion.
Unless you're on the Go Link zone, then you could just stand in your house and just wait for the car to come up
That's
to
right.
you, and you know,
Won't have to worry about it.
you don't have to worry about it. This will be our last question. Carlos, did I need you to translate? I can't remember.
No, I think we're good. I think I already said that before. Yeah.
Okay, so this will be our last question, and then we'll wrap it up. And if you have any additional questions, please continue to put them in the chat, and our staff will be able to respond to them. If they can't, then they'll turn it over to our service planning department. But to get a faster answer, if you're wanting to know about a particular route, again, email serviceplanning@dart.org, and someone from our planning department will contact you and discuss what your concerns are. So the last question will be, are there any changes to paratransit? And no, paratransit will not change. Now, I did forget to mention that we have 50% off on fixed route for the last for the weeks between January 31st and February 14th. Paratransit rides will only be $1. So I did forget to mention that. And so, Ralph, I don't know if you have any additional information about paratransit that you want to share.
I think you covered it. The number for paratransit as well is the same number for GoLink. I believe paratransit's option 1, GoLink is option 2. I may have those backwards, but the number is the same. And of course, you can get that information in English and Spanish through the interactive voice recorder that they have over there on that system. So operators will be standing by there as well.
Y la última pregunta es, ¿van a ser cambios para el servicio de paratránsito? Y la respuesta es no, nada va a cambiar con esta nueva red de los servicios de paratránsito. Lo que queremos decir es que esos descuentos, las promociones de descuentos va a ser gratis la primera semana, pero comenzando el 31 de enero hasta el 14 de febrero, decimos antes que va a ser 50% de descuento, pero para los servicios de paratránsito solamente va a ser $1 por esas 2 semanas, desde el 31 de enero hasta el 14 de febrero. Y si tienen preguntas de servicios para tránsito, es el mismo número de GoLink, que es 214-515-7272.
Thank you for that, Carlos. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate the questions, and you're spending your time with us this evening. So Monday, be prepared, be patient, be kind. We're only there to help. Our drivers, they're there to help you. So just be patient with us. We are there to make sure you get there. So thank you for everyone for joining us, and have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.